Hi, this is Francis Rossi of Status Quo, and you're listening to Six Towns Radio. I should be on the radio, really. You're listening, I should.
We love music. You are locked into Six Towns Radio.
Okay, we've got Francis Rossi on the line today, of course, from Status Quo. He will be up at Crewe in August for the Bula Quo Farm Junction 16 Festival. How are you, Francis? Are you feeling good?
Not bad. I think you've got through to the wrong number. This is Freddie's Sandwich Bar.
Well, can I order a club sandwich?
I see. We the avocado's off. You know that. We don't have the avocado today, so if you want avocado, we can have your bacon, and avocado's a favourite, but we're not doing that today.
Oh, right.
Anyway, sorry. Yes, I'm good.
So, Junction 16 Festival is at Bula Quo Farm. It goes over the weekend from the 9th to 11th of August. You're on the Friday night. Are you looking forward to that outdoor festival?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say yes, but my normal thing is I don't look forward to any one gig more than another. It would suggest that one gig's more important than another, and wherever you're on, it's damned important. You know, when you walk on, it's... Even if you did think over the years, oh, this one isn't important, or this isn't the thing, and that has happened to me when I was younger, but when you walk on, whoops, it becomes really important. So every gig is really important, and I just think it's a fascinating time. The Junction, what?
Junction 16. That's where we are.
I must have struggled for a name. What can we call it? Junction 16, that'll be good. However, I am talking about it. It's quite a unique name for a festival.
Yeah, you do play quite a lot of gigs. This year, I think you've probably played less than you usually play, but you're still playing about 100 gigs this year, aren't you? Yeah,
you've been looking up, haven't you? Yes, we have. We do. The thing is, some years ago, we realised that if we don't do shows at least once every 3 weeks, then we need to go to rehearsals. So invariably, particularly through the summer, we work 2 or 3 days a week at the weekend and go out and then come back and go out and come back. Mm-hmm. And it looks lovely on the itinerary because you think all that time off, but we're so institutionalised, I think, with it all now, is that I'd rather go out for 2 or 3 weeks, come home for 10 days, 2 or 3, and you get into a rhythm of working, and anybody realises that there is something about the rhythm of the thing. And so when we go out and we work, and we do 2 on, 1 off, 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, 3 on, and it goes like that for a couple of months, as much as you kind of complain about it, there is something good about being in the bubble and being fit and being, we call it match fit, you know.
Yeah, and you like to keep fit as well. You do a bit of swimming. How else can you keep fit when you're on tour?
My trainer just left. I had this trainer I've had for some 12 years or so, this particular one, and we were saying today, however, I lost a lot of fitness 5 or 6 years ago and can't quite get back to it, but you know, I like to keep reasonably fit and slim and so on, and it makes the gigs a bit better if you do them, and when you're doing gigs. For argument's sake, when I do a show, I try and do some press-ups and sit-ups before I go on, and obviously I'm lazy and don't want to do them, but when I do them, I notice the difference, particularly in the song Down Down. I can breathe better and all sorts, so I do. It sounds really boring, this, but I do try and keep that way, and I think everybody should try and do some, because it's very easy for us to slow down to a stop.
You've been going from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. I've lived it, which probably was the craziest decade for you.
Probably, maybe the 70s, but the 80s was the time that I started to go off the rails somewhat. I was quite a late starter with drinking and whatever else, and drinking led me to other narcotics, illegal narcotics, which again changed one's personality, and all sorts of stuff goes out of the window. But I've never really been a party animal as much, but, unless for the few years I was drinking, and I don't do that anymore. I never really liked it much, but for me, for some reason, you said about the gig each day is that important. That I want to be clear-headed and so on, and if I was out of it the night before and was suffering on the gig, as years went by, it's kind of got more and more, it felt like you were cheating the audience, so I'll do anything to stay in the right conditions so that I have no excuses. If I'm feeling grim on a gig, there's something wrong. Yeah. Whereas perhaps when you were younger, and some younger bands do this, and there's this whole myth about the rock and roll or pop music, whatever you want to call it, that everyone just goes mad. Well, some of the young people do that and think that's the way, when in fact, if you want to last and you want this to be, you have to treat it, it's like work and it's important. You can't just go out there and just think, oh, they're just people. And there probably was a lot of that in the 70s, that too many bands were getting so big-headed that the people didn't count and so on. It's far more important these days than it was then.
Of course.
But I think the whole industry's like that now. It's just very, very important now.
Yeah, yeah. And you and Rick have got a great partnership, a great comedy double act as well. Who winds the other up the most?
I don't know. We're quite good at. I was thinking this the other week that people say this a lot about us being sort of Morecambe and Wise, but we either one of us will play the stooge at any particular time, and there's no signals. We just do that stuff. We have been together since 1965, or known each other since 1965, and since about 68, we've been together every day. And I'm always with Rick. If we're out doing promo, Rick and I are together. We're out doing the movie, we were together. Whatever we're doing, we're together. And I think we have a good relationship. And let's face it, both of us have lasted together longer than we've done with any of our marriages, which is kind of weird. Yeah. But we have times when we're quiet with each other. In fact, last week he said to me, there's a bit of an atmosphere, isn't there? Yeah, neither of us knows what it is particularly. And then we kind of leave each other alone, and then it's gone again. And it's very strange because, today I'm not doing a show, so it's different. But whenever we wake up on a show day, it's like this running in your head. Yeah. And you know that you've got to go and do this. And most days by about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, you start thinking, I can't do it, I don't want to do it, don't make me do this, don't make me do this. And there have been times when shows have been cancelled for whatever reason, and you have a lockdown, then the insurance company allows you to leave, and you go, and about 40 minutes after we leave, I always think, I wish I'd played tonight. So there's an insecure little show-off in me that wants to do this, but is sort of frightened of it. I'm still frightened, not nervous, I'm frightened that it'll go wrong, that something can go wrong. And over the years, when things have go wrong, whether it's a broken string, whether it's a technical fault, whether it's a mistake you make, whether you feel grim, in my memory, it's always horrendous. It's the worst place to be in front of people when you think you're making a fool of yourself and so on. Yeah. If people think I'm making a fool of myself, normally that's one thing. But anything that comes up like that, so any show day, you're kind of a bit tense all day long. And then the last hour or so when we start getting dressed together, then it all kind of lightens up. You know you're going to do it, you go to do it, and then you finish. And like anybody else in any walk of life, it's great to finish. And we were saying this the other night, that there's no way you can get that feeling of having done a gig unless you do a gig. No. I was just saying that to my trainer, that most of this week I've got days off, but they're not real days off unless we're out doing shows and I wake up on the bus on a day off. And that is, what a strange, confused person I am. Yeah.
Do you wake up differently after a gig then?
A day after a gig, my calves and legs hurt mainly at the moment, and you get lots of cramps and stuff because it bleeds the life out of you. But on a day off, it's like you don't have to get up and get the breakfast inside you in time because you need to eat by 2:30 because Rick and I eat at 2:30 for a 9 o'clock show, and all those things. It's just this. It's very strange that it's something I always wanted to do and still love doing and so on. But there's this fear all the time. So the day that you wake up and there's no show, it's like, and then you look forward to the following. It's just pathetic.
You had a little bit of a break last year to do the film, Bula Quo. How long did that take?
A break. That was, hard work. We had to.
I meant a break from gigs. That's what I meant. I meant a break from gigs.
Yeah, I understand. It's a very low budget film, and it had gone away and come back so many times, and then suddenly it came back. And as soon as I said we'd do it, all right, we'll do it, I started to get even more nervous, thinking outside of comfort zone and so on. But when you got there and massive time change, and we were getting up at 5, leaving at 6, being on set at 7, and clearing at 6:30 at night with a half an hour for lunch. That is hard work. And so most of the time you were just falling asleep. But I realised that Rick and I then, we do respond well to a work schedule. We may moan about it, but we actually, each morning in the vehicle going to wherever we were going, we would try and go over our lines and whatever we had to do that day. And to get through that sheet that day was a fantastic feeling. Yeah. So we've talked about maybe doing another one, whether or not if it breaks even, we'll get to do another one. And so one moment I think it's a great idea, next moment I think, what are you doing? Yeah. So I just don't know. And the main thing about this business is that things come along. that you think you may never do when you're younger, or that things just take turns, and you don't realise suddenly you're doing this. We really thought the movie had gone away, and that's taken up our minds for the last maybe 2 years. And I say this to people recently, that people ask us how we lasted that so long. And I think with any project that comes along, you're into it, you focus, and it's not until after the event you realise it may have been a howling mistake or not. And I lost what I was going to say then. I looked out of the window. I shouldn't have done that. But you have these times, and what happens if we fall flat on our face, which I suppose in terms of success, this is never going to stop the world and change the world, so it was somewhat a failure. Mm-hmm. But what happens is we get up and we go to the next project. And I think that's where a lot of the older bands, we were always so struggling all the time that you get up and you go to the next project, you get up and you go to the next project. Well, perhaps lots of younger bands get fed up with the falling down, and quite often someone asked me the other night in Rochester, what advice would I give to the two young boys? And I said, tell them to leave it. And they were stood there. I said, no, leave it. And the boys looked at me and said, and I said, if they have the tenacity to do whatever this is, they won't listen to the silly old guy.
Yeah.
But if they don't have what it takes, they will listen to this wise old gentleman. Because most of the time in this business, they don't like your single, or you can't get a record deal, or you can't get a gig, or the audience don't like you, or da-da-da. Most of the times, they are no's and they are negatives. People on the outside only see the pluses, which is why it's called show business.
Yeah. The business called show.
It is, I'm afraid that's what it is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And moving away from Status Quo, your solo work, the first time you did that...
Say again?
We'll get back to that. The first time you did your solo live shows, did you brick it a little bit?
That's a lovely expression. I don't know why they say brick it, but yes.
I'm trying not to swear.
This thing about bricking a camel, you make it drink, you creep up behind it and whack it with the bricks. And you see, so whenever I hear Northerners particularly say they're bricking it, you mean actually...
yeah, I'm trying not to swear. It's a euphemism, isn't it?
It is. Underwear problems, you mean, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I was somewhat. And but again, I'd like to go and do more of that. I saw two of the guys that were in the band, Gary Twigg, the bass player, and Paul Hurst, the keyboard player, the other week in Austria with, what's his name from Family? I always forget his name. And Leon Cave, the drummer that's with us now, did those solo shows with me. And I thought, I'd like to do that again. But again, like I said to you, at that point, I still, don't make me go on, don't make me go on. But if you don't let me go on, then I'm like that child says, no, I want it now.
Yeah.
But I would like to go do that again. In fact, Udell have wanted me to have an album ready for early next year. I don't think I'll make it because I've got some of it done. So it's another, again, it's a focus. So I go and do that and focus on it, enjoy it. And if it's successful, great. If it's not, okay, I'll do another one. Or something else comes along. And I do think that a lot of those younger bands, perhaps since early 90s or maybe mid-90s onwards, doesn't seem to be any bands that you think, yep, they're going to last, or they want to last. Mm-hmm. I don't really think that the business itself has changed to stop bands lasting. It's their viewpoint, perhaps. Plus, us older bands, we were always trying to escape a sort of black and white post-war bomb site world. It seemed that pop music and the whole thing was seen such a fantastic escape. Whereas I think young people, life is that good these days that why would they want to escape? Life's just like my children. Why would they want to leave home? It's far too nice here. So I think that too, we would do anything for a gig. You'd work a party, anything you could get.
Yeah. And
we all learned to die. In other words, we learned to get a complete blank from an audience.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think younger people, younger acts, particularly if they've come off X Factor or something, they do an arena tour, there's applause automatic. It's kind of automatic. They see them on telly. It's already been done. To start out dead and most of the time get that, no, I don't like you lot. It's not easy.
No, I can imagine. Probably a joke with you when you hint about the end of Quo, because it's something you can carry on forever without ever ending. But do you do that to humour the press sometimes? What, say that we're going to end? Yeah.
I know. I wake up most mornings thinking, I can't do this anymore. I really want to, and the day goes by and I really like it. And I think I've become institutionalised in as much as I don't really know how to do much else. I'm kind of happiest when we've done a gig. Everybody's on the bus. It gets to about 1:30 in the morning when people are kind of going to bed. I go downstairs and I stand with the driver for a bit, and we're cruising through the night. And that, to me, is how we thought it would always be, that roads would be empty, we're coasting through the night, and that's really a fantastic vibe. So I think I've become institutionalised in this. I don't really know. I may say I want to retire and sit in the back garden and do whatever, but I need some focus. Whether it's make my own albums, well, I don't know. I say, I'm a spoiled child. I told you, it is like that, spoiled child. I want that, Mum. Mum gives him that. He says, no, I want that wired over there.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a bit still like that in lots of ways.
Good. I know everyone will ask you about Live Aid. You were the first band on Live Aid. You opened that. You're on Band Aid. Do you get fed up of talking about it? Because it raised millions of pounds and all that. It's something that'll be a big part of your career. But do you ever get fed up of talking about that?
No, I don't really get fed up talking about anything. As I've gotten older, I love to talk. Most times that I do interviews, the PR people have to tell them, make sure you get a question in, because you'll start waffling about anything and drifting off point. But Live Aid was quite unique. None of us in this business realised that what Bob was up to. He was just some Irish upstart, he seemed to be at the time, and he got most of us by saying that, we need you. And he did it to us, he did it to The Who, he did it to lots of people. And the best thing about that is that on those kind of shows, you always know everybody's jockeying to be top of the bill. And that, I'm over that thing, So to us, it was like, well, can we go first? That means we're on and we're finished. I've done it. And we did that. And when we walked out, I'd never seen so many TV cameras, I think, before or since. And we got the coverage. Nobody realised it was going to be that big. We'd all committed to it. Bob said, all right, yeah, we'll just do it. We weren't rehearsed. We weren't really talking. We weren't getting on. We did the show. I was drunk by about 12:30, which is disgraceful. But it was quite a unique event. I don't think I've ever worked to an audience that were... Normally it's a quid pro quo. They paid their ticket kind of thing, and there's a certain amount of, well, show us what you can do. Whereas with that audience, they were just ecstatic that we were all doing something. So it's never going to happen again. They tried to do it again. It was not quite as good.
That's what I was going to say. It's going down in history as the biggest gig ever, and there's no way you can emulate that. Same as Band Aid. There's charity songs out there for good causes all the time, but there's never going to be another Band Aid, is there?
No, and plus obviously we can never go back to that time. It was the time that there was the loads of money Brigade, and it was things were opposite, and we were. I mean, I've been kind of aware of that since I was in primary school. I always remember these boxes used to come around a Catholic primary school, and we were always trying to do something for. We didn't call them third world countries then. It was the little black babies in Africa that the nuns used to say to us, and so when Bob was going on about this that he'd seen, and I don't know what he's talking about. And you have to give the man his due, that he pushed and pushed and pushed. And most of us were going, I don't know what you're talking about, Bob. And it wasn't until after the event. I was kind of ashamed that, and Bob gets upset with this, but big business should have got involved. And in fact, big business kind of went, let those schmucks in rock and roll get on with it. It'll be gone in a few weeks. And exactly that happened. I don't see why the oil companies around the world, even if it's the British ones, we said, well, look, don't advertise, put that in the pot.
Yeah.
I find I get really frustrated when the TV's on and there's somebody advertising to me that petrol makes my car go and that they're trying to do wonderful things for the world. I don't believe that. They could have put that in the pot. The big airlines around the world could have said, well, look, we'll all do this. Make a deal of the fact that we're giving the money in. You get your profile. But none of that happened.
Yeah.
But that sounds like I'm trying to poo-poo it. And we did something. I just, as I said, annoyed the big business. Must have thought, let them schmucks in rock and roll get on with it. It'll be gone in a few weeks. And that's what happened.
It did. It did. Bob Geldof's touring, of course, with the Boomtown Rats this year. He's got the band back together, so...
It comes to all of us, you know.
yeah. So he hasn't give up. Never give up the rock and roll dream. Never. Well, you've got some amazing fans over here in Stoke. I know you play the Victoria Hall quite a lot. You see the denim queuing up all the way around the block. I suppose you're always going to be known as a rocker. Does that bother you?
I like pop music. I like country music. All the things that Quo fans say I shouldn't like.
Yeah.
And I like lots of music. But we got... You know, I said when we were younger, we'd do anything to get in there. Mm-hmm. And lots of older bands do this. They get there and then suddenly they have a career that lasts and you hear them say, well, I'm not going to do my old material. And I always think, well, who are you then? If Status Quo didn't do it and didn't have that name and do what people expect it to do, quite often people say, well, what can we look forward to at the Crewe gig? And I say, oh, we're going to do the Pink Floyd set tonight. Well, of course we're not. We're going to do what we do. We're going to do all those hits that we do and so on.
Yeah.
But I can't pretend for one moment that I am not knocked out about that. I got the career that I wished for when I was younger. It's extremely lucky to have survived with no education and blah, 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 and to do something that was a dream when I was a kid, you know.
Yeah, most people's
dream.
dream.
It's a bloody nightmare. I love a joke, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I love a joke too, and I think you're a very funny guy. I just want to thank you for coming on the phone today, and we look forward to seeing you at Betley Court Farm on the 9th of August.
We'll be there. Let's hope that everybody's there to enjoy it.
Yeah, you take care, Francis.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
See you. Bye.